Okay, so this is my second video about the Jughead hat. I want to talk a little bit more about the construction of this hat. Somebody mentioned, actually a couple of people have mentioned to me that they're really struggling to understand this pattern, and I really do think, as many gauging problems as I've personally had with it, I don't think that that's the pattern's fault. I think that's my fault. So I do want to talk about the way that the hat is constructed, and I'll just show you a little bit of, I'm working on a fifth Jughead hat now. So obviously I really love this pattern because I've now done it 5 times. Unfortunately, due to a pandemic happening right now, I don't have my copy of the book, but I do have the pattern itself saved on my phone. I do this thing where I take a pattern that I'm gonna knit and I type it up into the notes app on my iPad or my phone so that they communicate with one another, and then I always have the pattern with me anywhere I go, and I can delete it line by line as I knit it. I typed that repeating pattern once, and then I just copy and pasted it as many times as I would need for all the little points of the Jughead hat. So let's look at this pattern a little bit. The first step in the pattern is the provisional cast on, and this was the first thing that I looked at this pattern. I'd never done a provisional cast on before, so I started with the provisional cast on right there in the white yarn, the hat. So this whole hat is knit flat, and that, for me, being somebody who's knit hats in the round for years, adjusting my mind to the fact that I was knitting a hat flat, I found really difficult. Once I understood that that was what I was doing, though, it was much easier. So I did my provisional cast on. I've done my first row knit here. The next step is the placing of the markers. So I'm just gonna place all these stitch markers on this row. It's literally just you knit a certain number of stitches and then you place a stitch marker, and it's pretty well described in the pattern. So first it's knit 2, place a marker, knit 2, knit 3.
It only takes the tiniest of fires sometimes to light the way you knew was always waiting for you there.
Okay, so now I have all of my stitch markers placed along my hat at the intervals that are put into the pattern. And what this does is, this is the bottom of the hat right here. So this is where the points come and go, right? So as you're knitting through the pattern, you're going to be doing knit 2 togethers at the beginning of this row, and then eventually you're going to be doing knit front and back. I think it's knit front and backs into this row. So that's what creates your points. So if I hold my hat like this, this is where I started, right? So that stitch marker right there is about here, and then I just knit 2 together at the start to make that one, and then increases to go back out to the next point, and decreases. And, you can see where the wrap and turns are, which happen at the other intervals along the stitch markers. And I think that that's what's confusing most people about this hat, so I just wanted to kind of break that down for you. It's just a matter of, you just kind of have to follow the pattern, trust where it's going, because it really will get you there, and you will get to where you have the Jughead hat, I promise. Even if it seems like you're doing something really weird or awkward to start with. And that is my Jughead hat. So I highly suggest Dominatrix. It's been out for a while. It's like a 10-year-old book, if not more. But it's fantastic. Go pick it up and have fun knitting your Jughead hats. I would love it if you showed me your Jughead hat. Tag me on Instagram at Ray-Saulis. There's a link to the book in the description. And have fun. Happy knitting.
Be reborn this summer night, when all our sorrows cold run into one. Be reborn this summer night. We are come to the labyrinth tonight. We are come to the labyrinth tonight. We are come to the labyrinth
These to make all the different points of the hat. The light turned itself on. That's creepy.